McGregor! You gotta come back and fight somebody! I'll see you at the top!
Surprise, surprise, The king is back!
That's right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of TUF Hang, MMA Fighting's official reaction show to season 31 of The Ultimate Fighter. You guys just finished watching episode 4. We've definitely got a few things to touch upon, especially some news more revolving around the show and the star of the show, Conor McGregor, than maybe what happened on the show itself. But we'll get to all that in a second. First, let me introduce my wonderful co-host, GC Conner Burks.
Okay, how we doing, man?
Still rocking the blue. Proudly. You have to
proudly. 0-4, baby.
Even given
0-4.
even given the circumstances, still rocking it. And producer extraordinaire, E. Casey Light. Rocking the pink. He's right in the middle. It's right in the middle. He's not taking a side. Undecided.
I'm Switzerland.
Yeah, listen, Team Blue might still turn around. So obviously, everyone, before we begin today's show, the big news surrounding Conor McGregor this past week were sexual assault allegations that were brought up in relation to Game 4 of the NBA Finals in Miami between the Heat and the Denver Nuggets. This happened at Kaseya Center in Miami. You guys have seen the stories by now on MMAfighting.com. If you're not aware, Conor McGregor right now accused of taking a woman into a washroom and doing some pretty terrible things. Again, I don't really want to talk about it on air. It's all on MMAfighting.com. Really, you can probably read about it everywhere. It was maybe the biggest MMA story. I should say maybe it was definitely the biggest MMA story of the past week. So, of course, this affects Ultimate Fighter 31, has to on some level, and it definitely is going to affect our programming, TUF Hang. How much? Well, listen, obviously, Conor's the star of the show. We are still going to talk about Conor a lot. If you've seen the previous 3 episodes, we've done a lot of going, what did Conor do this episode? That's sort of a major point of discussion. And this week wasn't really any different. If there was any change to the editing this week, it would have surprised me. I think there was still plenty of Conor McGregor stuff. And so the same with us going forward. We're going to discuss the on-screen persona, the on-screen character that we have been seeing again for the past 3 weeks. In this business, I think we all know you have to separate character and personal lives from the fighters that we enjoy and watch in the cage. And Conor McGregor is no different. We knew this before the season started. Conor McGregor had a pretty long rap sheet. This is not even his first sexual assault accusation. So again, we want people to know, of course, we're aware. And if you see us, joking about Conor, talking about his character on the show, it's not in ignorance of the allegations that are against him. And those should be taken very seriously. But as far as we know, again, this thing is still under investigation. I have heard that the show, again, will proceed as scheduled. Of course, no change in broadcasting every Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Again, will they edit the episodes? I have no idea, but it doesn't sound like there's been any changes. UFC has released a statement. Miami Heat released a statement. Again, look all that stuff up on MMAfighting.com. But just want to let you guys know in advance that, of course, we are aware. And but we still got to talk about the con man, the star of the show. But the stars of this show, episode 4, titled, what is this? Casey, can I see that? Heart, Soul, and Brain were definitely Trevor Wells and Timur Valiev, who got a ton of camera time. We just saw Valiev defeat Wells by what I thought was a pretty convincing 2-round unanimous decision. Conor Burks, I'd love to get your take on the fight that we just saw.
All right, so in my opinion, it was the best fight so far. Especially because it went the full 2 rounds. And I was hoping that we were going to get the 3rd round. I was hoping maybe some of the judges would have scored round 1 for Trevor Peak, but alas, we're still waiting for that 3rd sudden death round.
Trevor Peak. I think is he fighting this week?
Yes, he is fighting this week. Okay. What did I say last week or 2 weeks ago? I said Lando Venata.
Lando Venata. Yep.
Yes,
Sorry, I didn't
Trevor
mean
Wells. No. I thought we were going to get the 3rd round, but you mentioned it last week, AK. The time is starting to mess me up a little bit. Now I'm watching. Now I'm realizing as they're making their walk, it's like, all right, we have about 18 minutes left in this episode. Like maybe we'll get the 3rd round. But like when Timur took his back in round 1, I was like, oh, he's not going to get the finish here because we still have time to kill in the episode. I wish I didn't do that, but I can't help myself and realize where we're at in the time left in the episode.
Yeah, and I think even for me, I still want to convince myself. I'm like, oh man, is Timur going to get this choke? Like, are they actually going to do something with the format here? And maybe there was some other drama they need to showcase. So maybe they tricked us by putting the fight around, again, the 25-minute mark, which is where a fight would go if it was going to go to a decision. But I'd hoped GC, I hoped that they would mix it up, but they didn't. Credit to Trevor Wells, fights out of a tough situation. Yeah, I thought he looked decent in there. This was a legitimate prospect versus UFC veteran matchup. Wells 27, I think they said on the show, 8-3. Valiv 32, 18-3, one no contest, and I think he was 2-1 in the UFC plus the one no contest. If you want to count a loss, he was 2-2. Huge experience gap. It was evident all throughout the episode, probably in the fight itself by the end of it. Should we talk about the elephant in the room or the pet in the room right away, GC?
I mean, the only reason I even tune in at this point is just to be able to watch the backstories of the fighters and see if see who's going to have the dog. And it felt like for a second we were going to get away with no dogs. I looked in, maybe I wrote down on my notes. Timur didn't have a dog. He was with a tiger, I think it was at one point.
An adorable tiger.
Yes, tigers abstain from this rule. They don't count. And then Max showed up for Trevor Wells, and it was all over from there. I mean, it was written in the stars. You knew it wasn't gonna.
I mean, that's pretty much why he lost round one. I mean, I mean, round one can go either way to me, but I was like, ooh, he has a dog. Nah.
And the sad thing is, they could have easily cut 100%. Max out of the edit. They could have easily cut, because Max was not showcased like the other pets. Shout out to Max, the dog. Max was not showcased like the other pets. It was literally a passing mention as he was sort of introducing his family. Like, oh, by the way, this is my boy Max. And then they moved on. And I thought, like, oh, why'd they show it?
You notice just a little bit of Max, though, it led to the best fight, the best, with the 4-2 rounds. So
this is true.
Good point. This is a point by you, Casey.
Why did you rule out the tiger so quickly, Conor? That is a cat, technically. We saw the cats last week.
Yeah, so I didn't rule out the tiger quickly. I did jot in the notes. Let's see. Timur has tiger, and then immediately after it, all caps, Max, no, fuck, why, Trevor is dead. And that's essentially what ended up happening. But I can't lie. I kind of like it. I like when we see the dog, because then I have someone to root for, because I kind of like this gimmick continuing.
Yeah, listen, when they showed the tiger, I had the exact same thought. I wrote, does this count as a pet? 3 question marks. And then I was waiting for the Wells stuff. And then as soon as they showed the dog and even mentioned his name, GC, you could have given me plus 500,000 odds on Trevor Wells after that dog showed up on screen. I wouldn't have wasted a nickel on it. That's how I would. You may as well throw a nickel out the window. I would not have bet it. Even give, and again, Valiv was a huge favorite either way. So, what did you think of the guys' respective backstories? Did you find them compelling? Again, Valiv is a bit weird because he's the veteran side. We've seen him in the UFC. He was kind of like, oh, I can't believe I'm finally in the Apex. And it's like, you fought in the Apex 3 times. You fought in London. So that was really strange.
I couldn't believe how excited he was to get back to the Apex. Like when he stepped into the cage, he was like, it's good to be home. Like, it's good to be home.
And this time he's not getting paid.
I mean, it was cool to see Timur's backstory. Like, a guy like that, like, I really knew nothing about him other than that he's good at fighting. But to see his children, the scene where he's going to the beach with his daughter, everything like that, training at Tiger Muay Thai, I felt like we got a little bit of his personality. On the flip side, for Trevor Wells, man, I said it last week. Like, it makes me like feel for these guys. Like when he's leaving to go to the airport and he's with his mom and dad, and he's like, next time I see you guys, I will have won the Ultimate Fighter. We've already seen the dog at this point, so we know how it turned out. But yeah, it just like makes you feel bad, because like you kind of put yourself in their shoes. Like, it's just like, he really needs this. He's talking about how broke he is. His gas tank is always on E.
Always on E.
It makes you just feel for him more when they lose.
His exact phrasing was, I am broke as a joke. So I
feel that, Trevor.
Listen, that we all know the struggle's real, right? Broke as a joke. Yeah. And listen, Trevor did better than we expected. I was looking at their records before, and I thought, like, man, this is even before the dog popped up, Trevor is toast, because he talked about having a long amateur career, and it's not like he was like a standout dominant amateur. That might be a good thing. It might mean he was facing like decent competition. And then as a pro, pretty light work. Debuted in 2018. The first guy he fought was 1-38 at the time. Then a few 0-0 guys. So I mean, and then even his later career, a lot of guys hovering around 500. So
he actually fought a teammate of mine. His 2 fights ago, he fought at Ultimate. Up next, he fought Ricky Scraps. Actually, I don't know if his real name. That's his nickname, Ricky Scraps. But
Ricky Scraps. Heinrich Vossmer.
Yeah, there was a highlight of him getting finished in the show. So in the gym, we're like, oh, that guy that got beat Ricky, he's on the show, and they're like, he's a prospect. They're like, he's okay.
Oh wow,
that was the talk about it going in. At least in my gym.
You really did not like Wells' chances of winning this. You saw the dog. You knew. You'd heard about it. You were like, "This no way."
Oh, Wells absolutely overperformed this fight.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, to the point where like maybe because my expectations were so high on Timur, I actually scored round 1 for Wells. I don't know if that's just crazy or more because the expectations are so lopsided. The fact that it was competitive in the first round, maybe that's why I gave it to Wells. I'm not sure, but back to Connor's point earlier, is like, man, this is a game show. This isn't real. These are exhibition fights. Just go to round 3. Just go to round 3. I don't know. I'm not saying Wells wins the fight, but Wells, he earned that shot to get his butt kicked for another 5 minutes, basically. And I think that was my biggest disappointment in the episode, is that we actually had a chance to get a real dog fight, and but we did it because they have fake rules and they enforce their fake rules.
These are real. These are real rules, Casey. These are real exhibition fight, reality television fight rules. All right, they're real. Yeah. They're real as reality TV gets. Anyway, I wonder if Ricky Scraps had won, would he be the guy on The Ultimate Fighter right now?
Dude, that's how the sport is, man.
Right? Wouldn't that be crazy?
You win that one fight, you lose that one fight, and just who gets that call the next day. And yeah, that's just how it goes.
That's interesting. And the other thing I want to say, I was talking about records. I mean, Timur, like if this had happened on a fight night card, Timur would have been, I would think, like a minus 600 favorite or something. Because
I feel like it might have even been more. Like you mentioned, I looked through Trevor Wells' Tapology beforehand, and I was like, wow, this guy has a tall task in front of him. And I agree with you, Casey. I mean, he outperformed, man. I was shocked at how much of a fight he put up.
Timur has wins over Harani Barcelos, who I think we just saw fight in the UFC. Bekbulat Magomedov.
Or he was supposed to fight last weekend.
Yeah, he beat Chris Gutierrez, current top 15 like UFC bantamweight contender Chris Gutierrez back in the day. His first loss, I think, is the first guy to beat Chris Gutierrez.
And basically, did I read between the lines? But when they had Dana kind of talking about Timur, Dana basically said, "Oh, he's really good, but we have a lot of Dagestanis." That's what he kind of said.
It was something to that effect. There was also a bit of
we have a lot of them, so we could lose one. Basically, and he didn't say that directly, but that's what it kind of sounded like to me. Because I've always thought
it felt like to me on these like previous guys that have been cut, when he's talking about him, he sort of gives like a brief explanation of why they got cut. Like, they lost 3 in a row. Now we're giving him another chance. I was kind of hoping he would dive more into the Timur thing. Like, the guy went 2-1-1 in the UFC, was fighting high level competition. His last loss was the Jack Shore, I think. And it's just like, I would have liked to hear like a brief explanation of like, here's why we cut him and here's why we're giving him another chance.
Yeah, he kind of just said like, it's sort of a shit. Timur feels like he didn't get his shot this first time around, and we don't know why. And it's like, you should know why. It's your company.
That's your job, man. It's your job.
And it's not like, the weird thing is, it's not like Timur had to fight his way back. He has not fought anywhere since the Jack Shore fight. That was last March, and so they're essentially like they could have just.
I didn't realize that. That makes it even weirder.
I thought he had fought somewhere. I thought, he must have.
I didn't know that. Yeah, win.
Did not fight. Was just not re-signed, and now we're bringing you back. But we're bringing you back for the.
When was that fight? When did he fight Jack Shore?
March. So 12 months ago.
March.
A year ago. Okay.
13 months. 16 months ago. 16 months ago. It's 12 months ago. 16 months ago.
So really,
not a long time.
So 16 months ago, but they started filming this 6 months ago?
February, March.
Yeah.
So it would have been a year. It would have been a year since since he parted ways.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah.
What's the point? I don't know. What's the point of all this? I honestly couldn't tell you.
The whole show built around to bring back Timur to the UFC. I feel like
this is a cover-up story just to bring Timur back to the UFC.
Yeah.
Listen, Trevor Wells almost threw a wrench in that because he really did not look bad, except for the second round.
One note that I did have from one Max, the dog, to another Max. If I wasn't mistaken, I think I saw Max Crosby in the background watching the fights. Obviously, NFL player, Raiders defensive lineman that's always at the UFC fights, but he's even at TUF fights. I'm almost 100% sure I saw him in the back watching the Timur fight.
Did you check his socials after? Did you check his socials? Did you see if he did any Instagram story? Okay. I would believe it. Yeah. Why wouldn't? Listen, this is like it's kind of a weird VIP thing. It also could be like one of those things you just show around to friends, right? Dana's, and I'm sure a lot of the officials in the UFC are friends with a lot of these guys, a lot of these athletes. Oh, hey, like you're in the area? Like, yo, come by. We're taping the Ultimate Fighter. Come watch a couple of fights. So let's see if he pops up in the background of some of the other fights, because like we've been talking about, they've definitely filmed some of these like on the same day. I guess we just have to accept at this point, Conor is not ever going to be in the corner, and he's not he's not at the weigh-ins. It's just not a thing, right?
He doesn't come to the corner. He doesn't get in the cage in between rounds, and he just kind of roves. Yeah, he'll never be at the weigh-ins. I don't know if we want to transition to it, but he didn't even show up for the catchweight meeting.
No, he sent. Was that one of his coaches? Who was that? Who was that guy?
I don't even know who that guy was.
It was one of his coaches that's like been with him. I don't know if he's a doctor or something like that, but I thought that was crazy that Conor didn't show up. They didn't even have a phone call, and then the coach is just like, Conor says he wants it 135, and Chandler's just like, no, we're not doing 135. That's ridiculous. We'll do 144, and he's just like, listen, man, like this is between you and Conor. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. It's just like, send Conor, put Conor on the phone. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is between me and Conor. It's now between me and you. And then as they're getting up and leaving, Chandler's like, all right, we'll do 144. And he's just like, 135. And then like, it's like, what the fuck is this,
Master
dude?
negotiator.
What is this guy? Like, this guy comes in and he's like, 135, we demand it. It's between you and Conor. Like, let me cough between my weight things. I was just like, what is this? And then I felt like the agreement of 142 was just Conor being like, I'm not bending the knee to Chandler. Like, I'm not going up to 144. Just take a couple pounds off. So it feels like I did some negotiating.
Yeah, we won. We made Timur cut that extra couple of pounds. Like we really stuck.
I felt like Connor's team would have been, or Chandler's team would have been happy at 140, but they went 142. Like they even went above it. They're like, first of all, 135 is not a negotiation. 135 was the original weight. It's like, well, we proposition 135, the original weight. It's like, what? It's like, that's not how it works.
I also feel like all the conversation that happened in Connor's team where they were like, let's try for 135 and at worst we'll do 140. I feel like the exact same conversations happened for Chandler, and they're like, let's try 144 and at worst we'll go to 140. I don't know why they didn't just agree on 140 in the first place, but that whole negotiation between Chandler and random Conor coach, like I just thought that was just so ridiculous.
I mean, I like how when he left the room, he did cough 135, and that
was the cherry on top. How he's just like, we demand 135. It's between you and Conor, man. Like, I'm not here to do anything. Don't shoot the messenger.
I wish there was a camera on the other side of the wall when that guy left, and after he coughed and he walked away, he just like, got him.
I got it. It's Italy 130.
I also love that they're like 135, no negotiations, and then very next scene, it's just like, all right, Conor said I'll do 142. Like, it's like.
I liked Michael Chandler being a geek and being like, we already talked to Dana and the executive producer, so yeah, don't worry. Like, listen, I'm like, oh, classic Chandler. He's like me. He's a rule follower. Hashtag rules rule, and he's like, I went through the proper channels. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I've talked to the people that matter about this decision. So, but yeah, man, how anticlimactic though was all that. I mean, you like we said, they could have tacked some of it. They could have stretched it out a little bit. They could have tacked some of it on to the end of the last episode. We talked about that on the last TUF Hang. And, at least made it seem like there was really no drama. It was incredibly anticlimactic. And then you're right, they just landed 142, and that's just what happens in the fight. Neither fighter seemed particularly worried about it. Like, I think they're like, Valiv is smiling and happy the whole show so far. We haven't seen anything of him complaining. Wells didn't seem like he was so like, oh yeah, let's try. And he was just like nodding along with sort of the machinations of his team. And it was, listen, if that's the drama on this show, boy, that is, it's not great stuff.
I did think it was kind of funny. The old dude on Connor's team, when they were discussing it behind closed doors, he's like, let's do 135. And like, I just thought it was funny that they're using subtitles for him, even though I could perfectly understand what he was saying. Like, Timur has a much heavier accent and they're not even subtitling him. But the old guy gets the subtitles.
I didn't even realize there were subtitles for it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad they didn't subtitle Timur, because they have done that for, pretty much many fighters who don't speak English in the past. But yeah, it's weird. If you were going to do it, Timur probably needed just a little bit of help. And there's nothing wrong with that. English is probably his third language or something. But yes, I've seen it before for other fighters. It is, if you go through past seasons, it's kind of really inconsistent who they do and don't. I think Amanda Nunes, they had her with subtitles before. Maybe this is when her English wasn't quite as good, but even then, I remember that season, I was like, I don't think this is necessary. Like, okay. Anyway, I thought that was a bit strange. As we said, guys, our usual Conor coverage would be a little bit muted. By the way, and I forgot to mention to the top, remember last week, guys, when I was like, boy, isn't this show great rehab for Conor's like public image based on all the dumb stuff he's done of it? That aged really well. That take aged really well. So again, I don't know how they're going to handle this going forward as far as editing the show. Maybe he did talk to Chandler and they edited it out. I don't know, but I didn't get the sense that segment was changed.
I don't think they've touched it. I almost feel like everything might just be in the can at this point.
Yeah. So, but he did one thing this week. Brought in the MNF or NMF, nicest MFer, Stephen Thompson again.
I mean, I think you're about to say the exact same thing I'm going to say, Casey.
I don't know.
It's just like,
go ahead,
they
guys.
hype this up. Like Conor posts all these Instagram posts with it. Like it's like really exciting and everything. And then he's on the show for 90 seconds, 2 minutes maybe, and then it's just over.
And from a fighting standpoint, it was the most pointless thing. I felt bad for Wells because he mentions after he loses the fight, there's a quick quote of him in the locker room saying,
"Yes,
man, I wish I got some more grappling training."
Yes,
it's like, no, I was doing footwork drills of a karate bro and I had to fight Mr. Wrestler from Dagestan. You know, I was like when they were doing these karate drills and these footwork drills, I'm like, this is the worst waste of time for Trevor Wells right now.
Well, the biggest thing I'm thinking.
I mean, it's cool to learn, but like that, like working 45 minutes on Wonder Boy's footwork drills is going to have no reflection on your performance.
Can you imagine
against Timur?
Can you imagine if they were drilling takedown defense and they're like in the middle of it? They're like, oh, guys, Wonder Boy's here. Sorry, we got to do the Wonder Boy segment for the show. Can we not? We got to put aside the takedown defense for now. We got to do like 30 minutes an hour with Wonder Boy. And if you're well, it's just like, cool, but oh man.
That's what I was thinking. Like I was like, man, like this is cool that they get to work with Wonder Boy, but at the same time, what is an hour going to do? Like it feels like if you're going to see any, pay dividends from this training, you're going to need weeks and weeks with him and like private one-on-one stuff. Like this whole just like, I feel like that's like, a class you could go to his hometown and take at his gym for $150 or something.
Pretty much it was. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that was a note I made actually right at the beginning of the episode. This was even before Wonder Boy showed up, obviously before Trevor lost the fight. I was like, how much work could they really be getting done, especially since we know that they're fighting pretty frequently? I wonder. I guess they had some time to work out before, but I think once the fights start, there's maybe like 3 or 4 days between fights or something. Each fighter probably gets maybe a couple of weeks between fights, but I don't know how much improvement this could really be doing, especially for the veterans who I guess are just in there to get reps and whatever, and maybe again get their name back up as they go back to the UFC. But even the quote unquote prospects, I don't know how much they can be benefiting from this. Like Casey, can you imagine working and improving under this environment based on what you've seen? It seems pretty flimsy, right?
No, you're not gonna get any better. Basically, it's just getting you in the right headspace and making sure you're in shape. As far as actual fighting, your actual fighting skills, that's 99% set by the time you get there, essentially. And making sure the coaches just direct you in the right game plan. It's essentially, or you find a wrestler, let's, work on our wrestling. Let's, don't bring a karate expert in here right now. That's what it should, that's what you would expect. Yeah.
And listen, Wonder Boy, great takedown defense. I want to believe that is something that maybe we just didn't see on camera. But before anyone in the comments goes like, oh, you guys are missing this great stuff on what's that, like TUF After? I don't know. They have a show that's with like unused footage from the episode or something. Listen,
I thought this was the only After TUF show.
Well, this is the only one that matters, but I heard there's like a bonus footage show. Guys, I'm not going to watch that. I'm sorry. I know I'm a hardcore TUF guy, but I have my limits. And frankly, if that stuff was so good, put it on the show.
Why is it not in the episode? Why do I keep seeing these viral social media clips of these Conor and Michael Chandler exchanges? It's just like, put it in the episode. You got an hour a week from me already at late on a Tuesday. Like, let me get the good stuff there. Don't make me go to your damn YouTube channel, please.
GC, please. GC, you're supposed to be the doe-eyed, optimistic one. We're only 4 episodes in. You can't turn on the show this quickly. You got to bring that positivity.
Yeah, look at you. He's already complaining about the show. Sounds like this guy sounds like me.
The remote's getting harder to click on to hold ESPN at 10 p.m. every Tuesday.
We got 6 episodes left, buddy. We got 6 episodes left.
No, I have breaking news. We have 8 episodes left. This is a 12-episode season. No,
what? This is not it
ends on August 15th. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And I think we have to do a live watch. 15th?
Yeah. And I think we have to do a watch party for the finale, right? If it's not a pay-per-view. I mean, if it is a pay-per-view, we're doing a watch party. If it's not a pay-per-view, I think we got to do a watch party for our boys.
I mean, at that point, the payoff, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a watch party for sure, but
do it for the boys.
But we only do it for the tough fights.
Yeah,
of course.
We just boo the other fights the whole time.
Yeah. One other important thing Conor McGregor did this episode was actually said the episode title. Guys, we have a rationale for the episode title. There it is. Thank you. Put that on screen. Heart, Soul, and Brain. The first episode called A Notorious Return obviously made sense. Conor McGregor was coming back, and we talked about the pointlessness of the last 2 episode titles, A Hefty Price to Pay and No Easy Path, which again may have been said during the episode. I honestly don't recall. But this was the first episode where I'm pretty sure that it was said. Conor, I think, was giving Trevor a little pep talk and saying, "This is how you're going to win a fight with your heart, your soul, and brain." So no complaints about the episode title this week, guys. That was
so. What did Trevor not use? Was not enough heart, not enough soul, not enough brain. Which part did he not include?
I mean, I guess
I felt like he used all of them. He was just considerably outmatched.
If only they had given him more takedown defense in his brain, perhaps he would have had a chance.
I'm going to go brain. Yeah.
So
there was a lot of...
McGregor is 0-4. We are halfway home to a clean sweep of Team Chandler.
It's not looking good.
All right, so I wish I had saved the evidence for this, but when the show was getting ready to premiere, McGregor put on his story, it was like a picture of, I think Lee Hammond was one, and it was like one to watch, and then one other of his fighters, and I can't remember who it was, but it said one to watch. And then the rest, it was just a picture of the whole team. And it was like, they're all ones to watch. I wonder if that was like the subliminal messaging that it was like, all right, these guys are going to win. They're going to move on in the season. Everybody else is going to lose. I don't know, but I know Lee Hammond was one of them, that he was like one to watch. So if Lee Hammond wins, that was definitely McGregor's way of telling us these are the 2 guys that are going to win. The other 6 are going to lose.
Listen, if you're the Ultimate Fighter, you gotta hope for that. Hammond is is like a classic Ultimate Fighter. Like, this is the kind of person you would normally have a whole cast of Lee Hammonds. 5-0, 27 years old, a McGregor protege, clearly.
Bellator,
yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, I've filmed dirty, nasty, chalky parlays in Bellator.
Okay, sure. You're familiar. All right.
Yeah. I'm familiar with Lee Hammond.
I wasn't that familiar. Listen. Okay, let's talk about. I want to talk. Well, let me just broadly say, I don't like McGregor's chances so far. Now, Hammond does have supposedly the easiest matchup. He's fighting a 36-year-old Kurt Hollabaugh, a guy who had middling, not great success in the UFC, 19-7. Then we have Chandler's number 1, Jason Knight, is going to fight Landon Quinones. So we have a Landon and a Mando on this show. I like that for Jason Knight a lot. That's the 2 remaining lightweight matchups. Hunter Azure, again, really good UFC guy. Probably shouldn't have even been released.
Have we even seen him in the show at all? Has he said one word?
That's something I'm going to bring up in a second. So, and he's facing McGregor's least lowest evaluated fighter, Rico DeShulo. And then next week, we have Chandler's number two evaluated fighter, Brad Katona, again, UFC veteran, facing Carlos Vera, 35 years old, 11-3.
I also quickly, I can confirm Lee Hammond, Bellator 275, fought Jamie Hay as a -950 favorite. He won in the first round. I'm pretty sure he was a part of a.
Was this in Dublin?
I want to say this was the Dublin card in February of last year. Yes, Musasi Vanderford. Oh, I remember that fondly.
Oh, okay.
So, Casey, remind me to come back to that thing about not seeing Hunter Azure.
Okay.
But GC, I wanted to ask you. So, Katona, 4 years younger, has the UFC experience. They actually have the same amount of pro bouts. Katona 12-2, Carlos Vera 11-3. McGregor might not even show up next week to coach against Katona. Katona's one of his boys. I'm honestly concerned if he's even going to be not even in the corner of Vera. We know he's not going to be in the corner, but even wandering around cage side, because Katona's been training with SBG Ireland for a long time, and I'm really surprised Conor did not try and get him on his team because he couldn't have, right?
Who's he fighting again?
Who is Brad Katona fighting?
Yes.
Carlos Vera.
Well, when they showed the clips for next week, trying to hype up next week,
yes,
they did talk about the drama that's going to happen between Katona and Chandler.
I can imagine.
I'm sure they're hyping it up, and we already saw all the footage from it. It's just going to be like a 30-second thing, and they're going to move on. But there was a clip where you heard McGregor, and he was like, "Beautiful shot, Carlos. Beautiful shot." So. He will be in the building.
That could have been in training. That could have been in training. We don't know if that is actually
the amount of times that man says "beautiful shot." I was off. I was wrong with the pants adjustment. It's really when he says "beautiful." The amount of times that he says "beautiful," if you made that a drinking game, you wouldn't survive the night.
GC, I need you to put on your No Bets Barred podcast hat for a moment. Give me some odds. With everything I just told you, give me some odds on this Katona Vera fight.
Well, we already know that. We already know that Katona won, 12-2. The fact that he's won the Ultimate Fighter, I think, is huge experience. You mentioned the amount of pro fights that they have, and the fact that Vera is older, I don't think is going to work out for him. And I mean, do we have any sort of confirmation? I'm looking right now here through his Instagram to see if he has a dog. No, just pictures of him at the of the fighting thing. No dog. Yeah. So that's going to adjust the line. We'll put Brad Katona minus 350 right now.
Oh wow, that's strong for an Ultimate Fighter. Minus 350 for an Ultimate Fighter matchup is very high. Wow, that's a lot of comments.
We've seen Chandler go 4-0 so far.
And I just know next week Vera's going to get a call from his girlfriend or wife or partner and being like, "Guess what? We got a puppy. We got a puppy."
Oh no!
When you come back.
Oh, wait. This is actually sad. Rest in peace, my friends.
No.
It appears both his dogs died in 2019.
Oh,
Thank
God.
you for the friendship you gave me. They are finally reunited. So one of them died. The other had died previously.
That's definitely going to be mentioned on the show.
So now,
What does this mean? What does this mean?
We don't know.
Yeah.
This is a wait and see game.
Yeah. New territory. Yeah.
Wow.
We can't speak to dogs.
Could the mere mention of dogs who are sadly no longer with us continue the trend? It does not look good for Team McGregor. I will say this: 0-5 is a real possibility to start the show. Casey, I'll touch upon a couple more things here. The not featuring other fighters in the episode feels like such a missed opportunity because, for example, where is Roosevelt Roberts? We've seen his face. He kind of pops up in conversation. Where is he? He wins the first episode and is just gone. Nate Jennerman, nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I actually maybe when they lose, they get much less airtime.
Clearly, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Just send them home. Let those guys go home.
Really
get back to your family, man. You have bills to pay.
I think they ain't making any money there.
Yeah, it's like it was cool to see Timur and Trevor in the kitchen beforehand.
Yep.
It's just like, man, they're gonna get into a war.
Yeah. That's also, but again, that's just the guys on the episode. We know those guys are going to be featured. It sucks so much for the other people on the show because we didn't know anything about Trevor before this episode, right? There was nothing featured on other than when him and Timur were supposed to fight in episode 2 and then they got postponed. We saw them a little bit, but the show does no building of the fighters outside of the episode that they're on. And
really, though, honestly, it's supposed to be a reality show. The other contestants are supposed to be mixed in. It's not supposed to be like, all right, this is the Timur and Trevor episode, and then this will be the Brad and Carlos episode, and it's just.
That's kind of the problem with the show in general. The kind of concept of the show is here's a bunch of badass dudes. Let's make them roommates now. But
that should be featured more. There should be some sort of drama going on.
Like Roosevelt Roberts going I got a big fight coming up, but freaking Jason Knight won't do the dishes.
Something dumb like that.
Yeah, why have him living in a house? That's why a lot of people. Even media too, wind up liking Contender Series more because we just kind of get rid of the whole, are they good roommates? Let's just find out if they're good fighters and with a little backstory.
And honestly, if you're not going to feature the guys that lost, why not just let them go home?
That's part. Yeah, that's part of reality TV. You lose the fight,
you get kicked off the island.
You get kicked off. Whatever. Here's hand over your jersey I don't know.
Right.
It's almost cruel.
That would be great. Yeah. If you had to
Yeah.
hand over the jersey after you lost
Well-
and then like dramatically walk out.
Well, that is the way it used to be. They used to pull up the van. The van used to pull up. The guy would say his goodbyes and go. And it's funny because then the teams would become like shorter. And it would be weird if a team dominated, like if there was like 4-0 this season back then. Literally, one team would just have half the amount of people on it, and the other team would have a full training room. The other team just like, wow, this is.
Well, yeah, and then you have
depressing.
the in van camera driving away, and it's like their thoughts on.
They used to do that. They used to do that a bit. They used to do that.
I thought I was going to be the Ultimate Fighter.
Uh-huh.
I guess it wasn't meant to be.
Max, I'm coming home. Great, I can't wait to see you.
See you soon.
But
But in the end, the whole team thing is always so stupid because
It's silly.
the guys on the same team will like as much as Roosevelt Roberts is gonna root for who's in the 55er, I don't know, Kurt Hollabaugh, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're going for them this week,
Yes.
but next week,
Yep.
F you when we're the only guys left. You know, so it
That's
doesn't
right.
really
100%.
matter. So this whole, like, yeah, it's just I don't know.
I don't want to go.
Sounds
I don't
weird.
want to go full old school, but I will say if people want to go back and watch like the Ultimate Fighter, the first few seasons, the format was a little screwed up. If you guys watched Ultimate Fighter 1, the guys didn't even know they were going to fight on the show. They were doing all this reality TV show competitions, and then there's the famous Dana White "Do you want to be an effing fighter?" speech when they were finally told like, oh, by the way, you have to fight on the show, and they rightfully protested, saying like, wait, are we getting paid for this? And this is back in 2005, so nothing has changed. But the actual fights were a bit later in the season. I think we didn't get our first fight until I want to say episode. I'm looking here, episode 3. So the 3 episodes in before you even got a fight on the very first Ultimate Fighter season, and then by that time we'd actually gotten to know the cast pretty well. So you're like invested in it. You're like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy fight. I can't wait to see, or you would root for someone like, oh, I hate this guy, but I love this guy, and they're matched up. They really can't do that the way they have the format now because it is so focused just on this episode about these two fighters. This episode's about these two fighters. This episode's
And
about these two fighters.
The fight at the
Yes,
very
it gets
end.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, fight at the very end. Like it's
Yeah.
it's actually mind blowing how formulaic it is that it's taken 4 episodes to have a full understanding of what is about to happen, and they have not strayed from it for the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, I just kind of realized I think that's my only but the only part every episode I have a little fun is actually when I go, oh, are they gonna have the fight in the middle of the episode?
No.
And then stuff
Yeah,
happens
no.
after, and I'm always thinking that like, oh,
Never.
like, what was the and was it week 2 when they opened up with a fight, but then it turns out the fight gets canceled.
Yeah,
So I was like,
of course,
oh my
but that's why
God,
they
they're
did it. That's what they
yeah,
did.
yeah. I was like, so I thought, I
It's-
don't know. There's so many different ways, or like the show ends. Imagine if they did this episode where like it goes to the cards after round 2, and we don't find out who was round
Give us a
3 till next
cliffhanger.
week. That's a
I want-
cliffhanger. Like, there's
yeah.
no cliffhangers on this show.
No,
you know?
I
mean,
want to say that they have done that on a previous season when they get to like the semifinal. I could be wrong. People in the comments roast me if I'm wrong. I want to believe they have done that on an episode where they knew there would be another fight. Like they had to have another fight like right away on the next episode. But I could be crazy. I feel like this has been a thing though, that they have tried the cliffhanger thing
I
once or
don't
twice. And
I
if
mean-
they haven't, they should, because yes.
Right now, it literally feels like it's just like come in, maybe a little fun thing for 90 seconds or 2 minutes, give a backstory on one fighter, give it a briefing of who's going to fight, show some training footage, maybe something fun like the weigh-in, the catchweight drama, or McGregor goes to the house. Backstory one guy, show some more training, backstory other guy, let's do the fight, reactions to the fight, hit the credits.
8 more episodes, Connor. 8 more episodes. I'm just saying. Last thing, guys. Well, you guys can tell me if you have any other notes after, but I do want to. I think this has to be asked again. We asked this sort of, I think, of the first episode. Again, given the allegations against Conor that are happening now, Conor McGregor. I asked before, is McGregor Chandler happening this year? I can't remember your responses if you're optimistic. Now I'm at the point I'm asking, does this fight happen ever? Because we just saw Arman Tsarukyan win this past weekend, call out, a very smart call out, Michael Chandler. Listen, he might be free for the next 6 months. So if you can go after his name in that spot, you go for it. And he's not the only lightweight that's called fight with Michael Chandler. Does this fight ever happen now, guys? Where's your confidence in it, GC?
I mean, the confidence is definitely taking a hit with everything that's going on, and no real data or anything in mind. I'm gonna say that it still happens, but yeah, I mean, with everything going on right now, the confidence has waned a little bit. I still think it happens though.
Casey, does the fight ever happen? Could you be convinced maybe February, March of next year, or does it just seem like
I was very at the beginning of the season. I was very doubtful this fight was going to happen this year. I don't think this fight happens.
Wow, you think it's just gone? Because you think Chandler has to move on?
Yeah, Chandler's got to move on. Yeah. I kind of beginning of the season after when I saw the lineups, this fight's not going to happen, and Chandler's team's going to go 8-0. Is that what is it?
I think that's
yeah. They might lose one by accident. Someone might slip on the banana pill, but
Lee Hammond
is the hope. Honestly, if Lee Hammond doesn't win, I don't know which one of these fights I would.
I'm going. Yeah, and the 2-round thing, it's weird, but that's sticking to my predictions.
Yeah. Because look, the last two bantamweight fights, Katona 31, and I'm not saying age is everything, but Katona's 31, Carlos Vera's 35, Hunter Azure's 31, Rico DeShulo's 36. And again, in both those situations, the younger fighter is the UFC veteran. So it's not looking good for Team McGregor. It's not looking good for Conor McGregor right now, frankly. Again, everything's under investigation. I'm not making any assumptions about it. But guys, our coverage will carry on. The show must go on as it is. Again, GC just told me 8 more episodes, so buckle up.
8 more, baby. Let's go.
Assuming nothing changes with the broadcasting schedule, which it could, depending what happens with these allegations. You will see Ultimate Fighter 31 every Tuesday, 10 o'clock ESPN Eastern time on ESPN. Excuse me. And you'll see us. You'll be coming around, guys, for Tough Hang.
This show smiling faces. Let's
go.
Pop up. Who's gonna get in the W column soon?
Well, you need that Lee Hammond fight to come around now because it is not looking good. It ain't happening next week.
Yeah, Blue's gonna win soon.
Listen, because once the dogs stop showing up, the conversation is going to switch from dog curse to me wearing this jersey curse, and I'm just the one cursing. Team McGregor.
Just you.
If Vera pulls this off, we are going to have a very uncomfortable conversation about whether he benefited from his dearly departed pets. Again,
it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation, but it's going to be one that we're going to have.
Well, guys, you can look forward to that on the next episode of Tough Hang, possibly us talking about deceased pets. Wow, what a fun show that's going to be. Thank you, GC Conner Burks. Thank you, E. Casey Leiden. That is a wrap for us this week, and we will see you next Tuesday.